This is about defending democracy. This is no longer Democrats versus Republicans. What do you want your kids to believe in? There must be give and take.
This is White Flag with Joe Walsh.
Joe Walsh, former Congressman Joe Walsh with you. This is White Flag with Joe Walsh. You all know the drill. Every week I sit down with somebody who disagrees with me. And we try to model how to have respectful conversation, even though we disagree. I am bored by speaking to people who agree with me. I don't want to do that. A lot of podcasts do that. That's not the point of this. My email for anybody, remember, who wants to email me, joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. All one word, joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. I'm excited today. I'm talking to Johnny from Florida. You can see him right there. Damn good looking guy. He's just messed up in the head a little bit because he likes Trump. But we're gonna get into this. Every week, Johnny. By the way, Johnny, welcome. I mean it, sir. My friend.
Thank you. How would you like me to address you, Congressman
or
Joe or Mr.
Joe
Walsh?
Or shithead,
sir?
One of those two. Johnny, it's funny because I will take the title Congressman to my grave.
Of course, it's
and
fantastic accomplishment.
Well, but a lot of those guys, Republicans and Democrats, they think they're Mr. Important and they want to be called blah blah blah. Call me Joe, or I'll get angry. Thank you. And just to give our audience some context, first time you and I are meeting, we don't know each other. I feel like I've known you for a long time. You know where I am politically. You rightly and pretty respectfully fire at me on Twitter because of some of the things I say about Trump. I love that. I thought this would lead to a pretty engaging conversation about an area that we do disagree, which is Donald Trump. You start, my friend. No structure to this thing, but tell me why you are going to vote for him, you like him, all the rest, and give me your history. I'm assuming you voted for him in 1620, but start there, my friend, and thanks for joining me.
No, thank you for having me. This is really a cool thing, and it says a lot about you for having a complete stranger on, and I think it's very cool. Thank you.
That's part of the problem, though. We shouldn't be strangers, and social media kind of makes us strangers. It's good to put a face to your handle.
Absolutely. And so, but thank you. Thank you for having me on. Yeah, I mean, again, to answer your first question, why am I voting for Trump? He's the Republican nominee now. So that's one big reason.
Yeah.
And to go along with all of that is I just don't believe that I've been to lay a groundwork. I've been a Republican most of my life. I voted for Reagan. Was my first president I voted for, and so on and so forth. I voted Democrat a couple of times in New York, where I'm from, Manhattan.
I can still hear that accent, by the way.
A little bit, yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
Even though I've been gone, a while, but I did vote Democrat a few times, just being where I'm from, and I made the most egregious. I did vote for Hillary when she ran for Senate. I had a farm upstate New York, so when she ran for Senate the first time, I wasn't a big fan of Lazio.
Yeah.
So I gave her a shot, and I was disappointed, of course. She didn't do much for upstate, but that's neither here nor there. It was a stepping stone. So I don't think Biden is. I don't think this is even a question of Trump or not Trump. I mean, regardless of Trump, I don't think Biden is. He's capable now. I don't think he's going to be capable in 4 years, and I certainly don't want Kamala Harris. I don't like, and not even being partisan about it, Joe. I don't. I don't think he's capable for the job. I don't think he has the energy. I mean, it's sometimes he's lucid, sometimes he's really not. And I just don't agree with most of his policies. Again, and I don't think it's about Trump anymore. In 16 it might have been. At this stage, everything that has transpired, I don't think it's about Trump for most people. A lot of people I talk to, they're like, well, I think that the Democrats would have been smarter and played this better if they didn't, go after him the way they did. He would be gone. Look at his 4-year term would be over, and he'd be gone into the
Biden.
sunset.
You're talking about Biden.
Trump. I'm saying
talking about Trump.
Even if they didn't impeach him twice the last time around, really went after him in, I think, a crazy way. And then with all this other stuff going on, when he announced he was running for president, I think if they just would have let him be, he would have gone off into the sunset, and that would have been that. I think that would have been a smarter play for the Democrats, personally.
Johnny, it's a really interesting point, and I get in this discussion with folks a lot because I think it's impossible to let Trump ride off into the sunset. But I hear you. But when you go on Twitter and you hear and see me say things like Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy, like I believe that because I say it, I believe it. You don't believe that? Do you think I'm crazy?
No, I think that's incredibly hyperbolic. I think when people on Twitter, especially, of course, it's easier for them to do it on Twitter because no one sees who they are or anything. But some of the stuff gets pretty wild. But as far as Trump being a threat to democracy, I don't believe that's true at all. I don't believe he's a threat to democracy. I don't think he's an existential threat at all. And I think he was a great president his first 4 years. I think he did some terrific things. I think he was ahead of the curve and ahead of the ball on a lot of things. And we can go down that list if you like, but yeah. So I don't think it's. And our democracy has so many checks and balances. I mean, honestly, this whole idea of him being a dictator and all this nonsense. Look, I'm from New York. Perhaps I better understand his vernacular, if you will. I mean, I get where he's coming from, the way he speaks. A little sarcastic, a little funny. Some people don't get that humor. I think a lot of people do.
You don't think he means it? Like when he says shit like, I'm going to be a dictator, I'm going to shut down MSNBC, I'm going to use, now hold on, I'm going to use the Justice Department to put my enemies in jail. All stuff he said, you think he's like not being serious?
Well, no. First of all, I heard him that one particular time I happened to be watching him. I don't really watch a lot of his stuff and rallies and things because it's you've seen it once, you've seen it all, but he has to campaign. But no, when he said he's going to be the dictator the first day, I mean, it's ridiculous for the media to take him on his word. The way he delivered it, it's like almost if you're going to go see a comic and then you take that piece of comedy, that bit the comic wrote, and then you use that specific little bite. And that's the problem with our society and culture at the moment. We take all these sound bites. So it's impossible to do. It's impossible to get, even when you text or all these little twit things and text things, you can't not get the context of it all in a very short quip.
But you don't believe, Johnny, so when he said something like that, and he said it repeatedly, and it's not just I'm just going to be a dictator on day one. He's played that theme a bunch. You don't think he's serious?
I disagree with you, Joe. He hasn't played that a bunch. He said it a couple of times as a joke. I'm going to be dictator the first day. The first thing I'm going to do is close the border. He's saying it in jest, a little sarcastic. And either you get it or you don't. Really, I think one of the things.
So he doesn't mean it. He doesn't mean that.
Of course not. And he couldn't anyway. I think everyone understands that.
When he says, I'm going to use the Justice Department to go after my political opponents, which
I never heard him say that.
He has.
Yeah. You'd have to show me that in print.
But if you heard him say that, would you think the same thing?
I'd have to hear it in the context of how he says it. Again, I think he's wrongly misquoted and misstated and misunderstood many times when he speaks, because he is a New Yorker, as I am, and this is what we do a lot. We say we could be sarcastic, get a little wild, and but again, either you get the guy, you don't. I think he's more humorous and funny than he is anything else. But people take it all very, very serious. I mean, and I tell you what, he says all the time. What he does say all the time, he goes, "Our best revenge is success," and I think that's something. I agree with that. And you have to, and for him to go back into the arena, go through what he's going through, I think he's proving that this tremendous stress of being in court, and I don't know, if you've ever been in any court cases and all, but you know about running and all that nonsense.
Oh, yeah.
And it's tremendous stress. For him to go through all of this and still be positive and optimistic, I think is a pretty cool thing.
Johnny, after he lost to Biden in 20, the way he behaved, not conceding and then saying that he didn't lose and then refusing to participate in the transfer of power with Biden. Did any of that bother you?
Well, let's talk about that.
Drill
right?
down on that. Yeah.
Yeah, let's because you've been in Congress, so you know, and maybe you can correct me on some of this. I don't know. So, if we go back in history a little bit, we don't have to go all the way back, but I'll just throw a couple of examples, and then we'll talk about the specific thing. So, you can go back to Hayes and Tilden, and in the I think it was 1890 or something like that, or 1875, whatever. And Tilden, whose house is on Gramercy Park, is now the National Arts Club. That's his house that he bequeathed to the art community. But that was a contentious, and everyone said that Tilden won, and they ran down to all of Florida and the southern states to redo the recount. They made a deal in the back room afterwards, but no one conceded. Let's go fast forward. Every presidential candidate, if you really kind of look at the back stuff, yes, eventually they have come around and conceded the presidency.
Right.
If you go back to Bush retracted. When it was Bush Gore, and Jeb Bush was governor of Florida. I mean, talk about a sticky situation. And they went, well, Florida is still up in play. Well, what did Bush Jr. do? He pulled his concession back. He said, "Oh, I retract it, and let's go now count it all." Now, let me ask you this question, Joe.
But to that point, Johnny, you're right. And you talk about a tough, close election, and then kept it alive. Do the vote, do the counting down in Florida, blah 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 blah.
Right.
And then eventually, Al Gore came out and said, "Stop. I concede."
It was early. It was yeah, but Joe, remember something. Wait a second.
Put the country
November
first.
November was the election, and this thing went on all the way to January.
Completely agree, but
then the Supreme Court had to step in.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not unprecedented, right?
No, well, true. And Johnny, hit me back if you don't agree with this. You're right. There have been contentious elections, and oftentimes the candidates wait, and you use the resources available to you to make sure that the result is the result. But eventually, there's always a point where the losing candidate says, "I concede, he won, now let's move on."
And Trump did that.
When? He never, ever, ever said.
In other words, he never called Biden to concede.
Well, even forget about. Of course, he wouldn't do that privately because he's a big fucking baby.
Well, he had to concede at some point because the presidency went to Biden. So
well, no, he never ever conceded. To your point.
Okay.
No, but to a point you made earlier, Johnny, the system held,
right,
and he knew he had no choice but to leave the White House.
And that's why the system is in place, and that's why I'm not worried about any particular candidate, anybody, becoming a dictator in this country. I think it's impossible.
But I guess my point is, and you tell me if this bothers you. You're Trump. You feel like it was unfair. You hire your lawyers, you file your suits, you do whatever. You work the system legally as you should if you thought you were screwed. But then eventually there comes a point where it's certified, whatever, it's official.
And that happened, though.
At that point, you should say, we did the best we could.
Well, Joe, let me ask you,
Joe
if he was
Biden won, and I congratulate him.
Right.
And and then respond to this, Johnny. Trump's the only president in American history who never ever did that.
Okay.
At the very end.
I'm not a presidential historian. I can't speak for all 45 presidents, or 44, whatever, going back into the 1800s and so on and so forth. I don't know if every one of them.
Well, forget
went
that.
about
But
it in a
does
very
it bother
courteous.
you that Trump never did that?
Well, I'm going to tell you. I'll tell you what bothers me. And it doesn't really bother me because, I'm not bothered by it. It doesn't ruin my day. But
And by the way, Johnny, that's
I have it too good here in South Florida.
This shouldn't ruin our day. That's a good.
No,
thank
it
you for the
doesn't ruin my
context.
day.
Appreciate that. Continue.
So let me ask you a question, because you were in Congress. So during Bush and Gore, so the rules are this. All the states send their into Washington into ballot, and it has to be then what's the word I'm looking for? The
electors.
Wait, when they validate all the votes, what do you call that again? So it's specific
certification. In
so
Washington.
they get on the House floor, and you got the vice president up there, which is the president of the Senate. During Gore and Bush, it was sent back to the states. That's why it wasn't certified. It wasn't eventually certified. What do you need to have that? You need, for it to get sent back to the states for a recount, you need 2 senators to sign off on it, to agree to it. 2, right? As a matter of fact, when Biden lost to Trump, Jamie Raskin Jamie Raskin really was the one. He got up there and said, I object to
Wait. You mean when Hillary lost to Trump? You said Biden.
Okay,
you're talking
you're
about
right.
when Hillary lost
You're
to
right.
Trump.
You're right. Because Biden was the vice president and he was the president of the Senate. You're right about that. So when Hillary lost to Trump, the many Democrats were saying that it can't happen. Raskin got up and he would not certify. He was one of the senators that signed off on, I don't want to ratify the votes today. And Biden, to his credit, got up there and said, how many other signatures do you have? Need 2. And Raskin said, I only have 1. And Biden says, well, hit the gavel. That's it. It's over with. Trump is the winner. To Biden's, I will say Biden did the right thing. Pence, on the other hand, did not do the right thing in my assessment, because he had 2 senator signatures, and they asked that day. They asked, if you go back to the video, do you have 2 senators? And Cruz stood up and guess we have 2 senator signatures to send the votes back for a recount. And what did Pence do? Because he panicked and whatever the hell was going through his head, he didn't follow procedure. He did not follow House procedure, and he ratified them even though they had 2 Senate signatures, and that was wrong. So I would have had a problem with that. So tell me if I'm wrong or right on that.
You're mostly wrong. But no, Johnny.
How so?
First of all,
be specific.
No. And you said Raskin, right? You kept saying Raskin. Raskin wasn't in the Senate then.
No, he was a congressman.
He was a House member.
Yeah, but
right.
what my point is though, Jamie Raskin objected to.
You can right.
Yeah,
and Democrats
and Biden goes, well, do you have any Senate signatures? What do you got? I mean, what do you got to? Because that's what you need. You need 2. And he goes, no, we don't have it. And he goes,
no. But 2 from that state, both from that state. Not just 2 senators overall from that state.
No, I don't believe it's from that state. You need 2 senators. Yeah,
but the broader point, Johnny, is when Trump beat Hillary. And it goes to Washington. The states do their thing. They bring their official electors to Washington. Washington approves the slate, certifies it. And again, Biden's role and Pence's role is just ceremonial. It's not
so ceremonial.
Oh, it is.
It isn't because there's power in the vice president's hand.
The power resides in the members of the House.
That's right.
The members of the
Senate.
Senate.
That's right. And if 2 senators say they're not going to certify all the votes, if 2 senators sign off on that, you look that up. And Pence didn't do it.
Not for the whole country.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but Johnny, to your point, and
Cruz wasn't even. There was nothing in Texas that would lead Cruz to do that. So
to your point, there were Democrats who objected on the House and on the Senate, from the House and the Senate, to Trump's victory.
Right.
But then fast forward to 2020, by tenfold, there were Republicans in the House and Republicans in the Senate who objected. Okay. Not even close to, but again, my point is, even with all of that and the process working itself out, Hillary Clinton conceded, stood in front of the American people and conceded. Hillary Clinton went to Donald Trump's inauguration so that the American people could see that this comes first. and we are transferring power. And Trump won, and I'm Hillary Clinton, and I can't stand him, but I conceded, and I'm going to show up for him because he won. Trump didn't do any of that. Doesn't that bother you just a little bit?
Trump also didn't do another thing, which he could have, which the Democrats have done. And I'll tell you what that was is Trump could have went after Hillary after that first election for all of the damage she did to the integrity of campaign laws and all kinds of stuff.
Back up.
Yeah, but I mean, he didn't do any of that. So I think the Democrats have really stepped over the Rubicon here.
But hold that thought. Because I know I'm the politician on this call, and don't let me sound like a politician. But you're sounding like a politician. Before you get to what Hillary did that bugged the fuck out of you, does it bother you at all? Answer this: that Trump never conceded and didn't participate in that transfer of power with Biden. Does that bother you? Yes or no?
Well, it's not. First of all, very few things bother me, Joe. I'm not a bothered person. I mean, I know. Listen, I know my sensibilities. I know who I am. I know.
Did you think it was wrong?
Very few things.
Do you think it was wrong of Trump not to do that?
I think that he could have approached that differently. If that's what actually went down, that he didn't go to the. I think
he didn't. He did.
Yeah. So I think. But however, Joe, I don't look at. Some of this stuff I think is important. I'm going to give you that. You're correct on protocol. I think protocol is important now, and all of these things, and etiquette and all, especially when it comes to these political things. Okay,
yeah.
I'm not going to disagree with you there. I'm the type of person that would have done that. Okay.
Well, by the way, Johnny, I appreciate that. If you had Trump's ear back then privately, you were in a room with him, then I'm thinking you privately would have said, "Yeah, the whole fucking thing sucks, Mr. Trump." But
I probably wouldn't have said it like I probably wouldn't have said it like that. But yeah, I would
step
say
up, do what's
absolutely,
right.
Absolutely. But again, two wrongs don't make a right. If you look back at those 4 years, he accomplished so much. He did so much in a very short time. After losing the House in 18, but his first year was so tremendous. And he was so ahead of the ball on a curve on so many things. And he knows how to use leverage, Joe. That's what I like about him. He understands leverage. And yes, was he not a politician? And it was not a politician. And this is one of the problems I have with Washington. And, you only served one term, 11
Yeah.
to 13?
Okay.
I
hear you. I
okay,
get
so
yeah.
You know what? That's a great thing, whether you were forced or not forced. But I don't think this kind of lifetime.
Totally agree.
It's crazy. I don't think that's what I always said. Look, if you're gonna run for office, serve in the private sector first. Really understand what people go through, whether you're working for a corp or you're a businessman or whatever, a businesswoman. And then you can add, it's like going to the Peace Corps, for God's sakes. If you have nothing, if you can't teach people how to farm or anything like that, what's the point of going? So the thing is I think that he was getting his, testing the waters. He didn't understand everything. I think that he was, maybe because there were so many entrenched people in Washington, but even through all of that, and even through that inexperience the first time, which now he has experience, so even more so why he should get another shot there if he's running as a nominee. He has experience now, which adds to the list. But I think he could have handled things a little bit different. But look, I'm not going to. I'm not going to judge him. I'm not going to judge all his character on that. So.
And again, this is, and then we'll move off of this, Johnny. It's just I talk about this one a lot because this is a real pet peeve of mine.
Okay.
Only because, I think our democracy, this experiment in democracy that you and I love, I worry about it daily. And if we get to a point where Americans don't accept the results of an election, I think we're screwed. And so when Trump comes out like he did a week ago and says, Johnny, like what he said back in 2020 before the election, when Trump basically, I remember I was on the radio in 2020, the summer of 2020, when Trump at one of his rallies said, one of two things is going to happen. This was before the election. He said, either I win or it's going to be stolen from me. Trump was saying that before the election. He's doing the same thing now. Like he's telling people that he's refusing to say that he'll accept the results if he loses. I think that's just so scary for our democracy.
Joe. Look,
that scares me.
It shouldn't scare you, Joe, and I don't think you're scared easily. So let's not. I don't think you're scared too easily,
no,
pal.
that scares me.
It shouldn't scare you. It shouldn't scare you. It shouldn't scare you. Look,
tell me why.
I think a lot of politicians. When you ask a politician, okay, you're a politician. I'm not a politician, but if you ask a politician, will you concede? I think it would be foolish for them to say yes without knowing what criteria to them to concede. I mean, if they outright lost, and everyone should be allowed to do a recount. Everyone should be allowed to contest it. And I don't think that any politician shouldn't be allowed to contest it. And by the way, COVID was such an outlier, and there was so many things going on, and so many new things, Joe. By the way, the absentee ballot, all of this new stuff that was going on, machines. Yeah, I would be very suspect about all of that. And plus what they were persecuting him for so many years over nonsense that, it left it, let me just say, maybe not me so much, but people that are really kind of diehard folks on either side, it really left a sour taste in everyone's mouth. A taste of doubt and a taste of cynicism and skepticism of, wait a second, if they could do all of that, and they can accomplish all of that, and they can actually, take this guy to the mat like that, what else can they do? And I think this is where this stuff festers and grows.
Yeah, Johnny, I get that, and I get how the rules, and that's a fair point. And by the way, Johnny, to that point, like during COVID, because it was so unusual, let's acknowledge that.
Crazy.
Some states changed the rules because older people didn't want to go to the polls and vote. Blah blah blah. I get that. In the middle of a once in a lifetime health crisis, if Trump had been smart, he would have said that. But Trump said, no, there's fraud. It's been stolen. Blah blah blah. He fucked himself. But no, I'm talking, Johnny. If Trump had said what you just said, completely different ballgame.
Okay. So if I run in 4 years, will you...
Completely. But Johnny, what I'm saying is, right now, looking at the November election, Donald Trump is telling his supporters that the only way he'll lose is if it's stolen from me.
No.
Anyway, he's saying that word for word. You don't think that's a bad thing to say?
Joe, again,
he said it.
I know, but sometimes again, when he's at some of his rallies, it's easy to take him the wrong way and out of context. So, just moving forward, Joe, I tell you what, the stakes are much higher if Biden gets back in. If I'm afraid of anything, I'm afraid of that. Okay, if I'm bothered by anything, that bothers me, because if you see what's happening with, I think you're very sensitive to this and acute to this. And straight, hardball politics. I mean, everything Biden's doing is ridiculous. He can't. Someone has to be at the steering wheel there in the White House. It can't be him. It's impossible. It can't be. Look, I've taken care of 3 elderly people in my family. Okay, very old, and I can tell you right now, it's no way, man.
So I'm gonna pull rank, you big jerk, as a former congressman. And I'm going to say,
yes,
I love you, brother. We ain't talking about Biden. And look, I'm still a Tea Party.
Well, you have to, though.
No,
brother.
hold on. No, I know that. And we'll end up there because that forms a lot of why you will vote for Trump. And I respect that.
All right.
I'm just, and I'm still a Tea Party, small government conservative. I disagree with Biden on the vast majority of policy. Boom. What I always find curious, Johnny, is this. You big nut.
I love the way you call me Johnny.
Well, because my mom always called me Joey, and when I ran, I had to be Joe. I got
to change that handle on Twitter.
I love that handle. Every time I talk because I voted for Trump in 16. And I like you did, I still believe, right? Our politics suck. Both parties suck. I wanted a disruptor. To me, he turned out to be a corrupt criminal and a bad guy, but I wanted a disruptor. I still do. Okay. But so I come from the world of Trump supporters. I was one. Every time I talk to a Trump supporter, and every time I bring up bad shit that Trump has said or done, they always do what you just did, deflect. But Biden.
I don't think that's deflecting. I think you have to make...
No.
Joe, look it.
I asked you, my friend, by the way, you and I are now friends,
yes.
A specific question. Donald Trump is telling his voters right now, if I lose, it will be because it's stolen from me. Isn't just that, before you go to Biden, isn't it wrong for a candidate for president to say that right now?
I haven't heard him say that.
Oh.
So I'm going to say... yeah, I think it is. But however, and the reason why I said that caveat about, because it comes to, at the end of the day, Joe, it comes down
to binary choice.
To whom you think is going to be better or worse for the country. And so, look, is there going to be a perfect candidate? No, absolutely not. No one's perfect, and I don't think that we should hold these people to such a, certainly, when Clinton got busted for sticking a cigar in an intern's cha-cha and with his wife up the hall, I was mortified. But, that was 30-something years ago, and I think society was way more kind of like, what the hell is that? If it happened today, I don't think people would be so shocked. But
look
unfortunately,
what JFK got away with way back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. And another thing, Joe, again, I think a lot of this stuff that candidates are saying, and some of them use it. Trump uses the Twitter, so he chose to get into that arena. But because of social media, because that we don't, as a country, we're all not watching the same thing on television anymore, which is something that's going to join us around the coffee thing in the morning. We're all off into our own little zones and things
Completely.
Like this. And then everyone's on social media where everyone can be very hyperbolic and wacko and whatever coming out of your head. You could type it in and all. And I think that has raised the volume on all this stuff, 100-fold. Where before it was filtered through certain things.
And you're right, Johnny. And we don't do enough of what you and I are doing right now. We don't do enough of talking with somebody who disagrees with
To
you.
your credit, Joe, by the way, Joe found me at a bus stop somewhere all by myself. Thank you, Joe.
No, look, Johnny, I think this is so good. Like, you and I I'm going to vote for Biden.
I don't think we're disagreeing enough. I don't think people are enjoying listening to this. We are not. No, I'm telling you, I have to start cursing and getting angry and act like a wild man because otherwise, you need listeners, man.
No, people.
Joe is usually an asshole, folks. He's usually an asshole on Twitter.
All you got to do is follow me on Twitter. No, but Johnny, that's like the point of this is. Like, I'm not changing your mind, and you're not going to vote for Biden. I'm not going to vote for Trump.
You can change my mind on things, though, but not Biden.
I want to understand why you're supporting Trump, and I want you to understand why I'm supporting Biden. This is what bugs me. I
would love to know why you're voting for Biden, besides your distaste for Trump.
Purely. No.
Yeah, but that's crazy, brother.
Johnny, I'll acknowledge it.
Yeah.
It's 100%, and you disagree with me.
Did he say something bad about you?
No.
You sure?
No.
Ever?
Oh,
I don't know.
Sure
you seem like a guy that holds a grudge. I don't know about that.
No.
Come on.
No. Johnny, I officially publicly ended with him
in 19 or something.
In 2018 when at that press conference with Putin where he stood in front of the world and said, I believe Putin, not my own people. I went on my radio that night and I said that he's a traitor. And then I lost my radio show.
Really?
Well, yeah, because you have to be, if you want to have a radio show and conservative talk, you got to be pro-Trump. Period.
So, if you were on like not conservative radio, then you would have been hailed as a hero.
Like because I'm not a liberal, so there's either liberal talk radio or conservative.
Right. That's what I mean. Yeah. So you're in no man's land. You're stuck with talking to no one's like me.
Completely. I'm talking to you, Johnny from Florida.
I am sorry about that, man.
This is what bugs me. It's like not you, Johnny. It's like is you and I believe in individual responsibility. I think most conservatives do. I think most Americans do. But it's like always, and you've done a lot of it here, Trump did this or Trump said that, Trump got indicted for this or indicted for that. And I always get, they're coming after him, it's not fair, he's a victim, it's never his fault. Like he's been indicted for 4 different things by 4 separate jurisdictions. Is none of it his fault? None of it, Johnny?
Well, hold on now. First of all, when you say his fault, you're implying guilt, right?
No, I mean,
no. If that's what you're doing, Joe. Hold on, because when
he gets
you
his
say
day in court, of course.
Yeah. Well, hold on. First of all, I'm not gonna. We could because we'll sit here for 2 hours.
No.
Yeah. No. And I know. And I'm saying that. And I have to go to happy hour soon. So. We're in South Florida, so
I know.
No, I think can you look at if you look at each individual case and you look at the merits of them, I think any logical person with common sense can look at those and have issues with their origins and why they were brought up and things like that. I don't think we need to go. I don't think we should go into the minutia of all that. I would not,
and we're not going to go into the minutia. I appreciate that point.
But I said to you earlier.
Johnny, answer this.
But I said to you earlier on Twitter. I said he's on. I'm not giving him a pass. Like I said, he went on Twitter and he opened himself up to that stuff. So I'm not going to. He's a big boy, and for certain. And when you get in that arena, you should be able to handle that kind of stuff.
But did he? But Johnny, I agree with that. But the fact that he's been indicted for 4 different things,
right?
Did his behavior, what he did, bring any of that on? Or did 4 different prosecutors indict him for nothing? Completely nothing.
Well, again, I think one could deduce that, yes, a lot of them are for nothing, yeah. Especially I mean, look what's coming out now with these files and the things that I mean, obviously, if you're familiar with the FBI or anything, obviously all those papers scattered around the house and all were put there like that for the FBI to make it more interesting. Yeah, I think a lot, again, like I said earlier, because of the circumstances, a lot of doubt, cynicism, and skepticism has been unleashed in the American psyche because of all these things. The Democrats have overstepped their boundaries with all of this. I'm sorry. They would have been better off charging him at 1 or 2. But between Bragg and New York, you don't get a bigger scumbag than this guy. You just don't. Where there's no more bail. I lived in Manhattan my whole life. There's no more bail. There's no more this. There's no more that. If you robbed $900 out of a store, look at all of that is you connect the dots, Joe. People, regular folks in America are connecting the dots. They go, wait a second. This guy is not for law and order. This guy doesn't care. He's letting criminals go, and they're fucking with this guy over something that happened 20 years ago. Who gives a shit? And that then bleeds into the other cases. So,
but Johnny, you don't. Yeah. I hear that, but you don't think like all 4 of these cases.
I don't know.
They've all like been working together, and it's.
I don't know. It's very sloppy. I mean, if you look at Georgia, it's very sloppy. What's going on there?
Well, individually, Johnny, that may be right. But do you think the Georgia Fannie Willis has been working with Bragg and Jack Smith? I mean, like these are all separate. These were all separate investigations.
Well.
Or not?
We don't know, Joe. I'm not a conspiracy guy because I don't think that you can keep that many people quiet without.
I guess, Johnny, what I'm getting at is. Yeah. I know you're going to vote for Trump, and I get it. And he did a lot of good things that you like. I get all that,
and that you like as well. Though I wish you would get past this kind of like. I don't know. It's kind of like I would love if we got all of this kind of very beautiful, like H.W. Bush and all these beautiful.
No.
They all know how to talk to each other. The country club talk and all this. No. Come on. We have to grow up too a little bit. Okay, we're all men. We're all women. We do things. Come on.
Hey, brother,
Yeah.
I'm fucking with you. Look at the way I talk. Before Trump, I talked like this. I don't come from the George H.W. Bush wing of the Republican Party. Johnny, I was a fucking Tea Party hellraiser.
You were social, but you also were a social worker and a couple of very nice things.
Absolutely. No, but
I think you're conflicted along your path there, Joe.
Well, we need alcohol. No, Johnny, completely. I don't come from the establishment wing. I come from that populist boom, boom, boom. That's why I voted for Trump in 2016. I hear that. I'm
not even I don't think I'm a Tea Party. I'll be honest with you. I don't know.
No, you're more of an establishment hack. No, I can't lie. I consider Trump to be everything our founding fathers feared. So that's more important to me than Biden's bad policy.
Right.
And I get you don't see that, or you disagree with that. I completely get that.
I could be, look at Joe, for me personally, and I can't speak for anyone else, right? Again, I think my background of growing up in Manhattan, I'm a little, my skin is a lot thicker, and I understand guys like that. Let me just say that, but Joe, another thing.
I get that.
If you go, look, anyone who's done construction, let me go here for a second. Anyone who's done construction in Manhattan for 50 years, okay? And they can't find anything on him but what they're trying him for in New York. That means that guy's really a clean guy. He's played by the rules. Now, what does that mean, rules for an entrepreneur? Could mean anything. Entrepreneurs have to make their path and they have to make their way. But they had his taxes. He has been investigated, and all they can come up with are 50 years in the construction business when you're dealing with all kinds of riffraff, all kinds of stuff to get stuff done, from concrete to this, that, and the other thing. And all they come up with is some silly thing in New York about hush money, blah, 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 blah. I think that speaks to his character.
Hey, Johnny.
He has a beautiful family. He raised beautiful kids. And I don't think he's the monster that, guys like De Niro, Bobby Boy, and Tribeca makes him out to be. He's not. How is he a monster? How is he irredeemable? This is this hyperbolic nonsense.
Well, I agree with you in that, and this will piss people off. I don't give a damn about this New York prosecution. Did Trump falsify records? Sure he did. Trump does shit like that all the time. I could care less. And he was screwing around with a porn star 6 months after his baby was born. I could care less. And he wanted to keep that quiet because it would hurt his election. Big deal.
Joey, but we don't know that, Joe. That's speculation.
But
we
Johnny,
don't know that. But we don't know that.
No. But I'm acknowledging that doesn't matter to me. Like, if I was a candidate, if I knew something bad was going to come out, I wouldn't want it to come out. So I get that. That's fine. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is the indictment where he literally tried to overthrow an election. You disagree with me? That bothers me. The phone call he makes down to Georgia says, find me 11,480 votes. That bothers me. The fact that he took classified documents, and they all do, Johnny, and then they told him, return him, please, Mr. President, return him, and then he hid him and tried to obstruct the search for them, like that shit. To me, that's more serious stuff.
Well, at least he tried to hide them. Biden left it in his garage next to his Corvette. By the way,
he tried to hide them from the investigators.
When Biden gets up his Corvette, because I'll buy his Corvette if he wants to sell it. It is, but you know what? If he gets an electric Corvette, then maybe I'll go get an electric car.
Would you, if you went back 2 years right now?
Yeah.
Would you have wanted another Republican nominee for president this time around? Like, if you could have had your pick, who would it have been?
Well, I'm going to be way out. I'm going to really throw you off here, Joe.
Huh.
I'm a Republican. I always have been.
Yeah.
Reagan brainwashed me a long time ago because I was a young rock and roll kid drummer.
By the way, Johnny, he was my hero too. Yeah. Ronald Reagan wouldn't support Trump, but go ahead.
I don't know that. We don't know. I don't know. Anyway, But
Go ahead.
we don't know because, we don't know. So in any case, I even, you know what? I even entertained Kennedy when he first came on the scene. I'll tell you why. Because I was in the Hudson Valley. My family had a farm up there, and he really did wonders for that Hudson River. He's an amazing guy. He's very smart, very articulate. Yeah, he had his issues when he was a kid. Whatever. He went through a lot. I'm not going to judge him on that. I really liked him, even though he's a liberal. But he had a lot of smart things to say and things like that. So I'm always open to other people. I will tell you, I think Trump is our first independent president.
Well, he's not
I really do. I think that he is the first independent president we ever actually had. Even though, he went in on a Republican. I don't think he's a hardcore conservative. I don't think he cares about gays. He's not a racist on any level. And he doesn't really care about a lot of social issues, to be honest with you. He's a Manhattan guy. Do you think they give a shit? They've seen everything in those parties. Forget about it.
You and I would be good spinsters because you spun it that way. He's an independent. I'd respond by Trump doesn't care about anything but Trump, and that's why he's kind of dangerous. Like he can't.
But that's also why he'll do a good job because I think that's why he'll do a good job, and he has done. That's why he did a great job in his first 4 years. I mean, he got so much great stuff done. And even though a lot of it they tried to reverse just because Trump did it, which was a dumb idea. Just look at the border and all. But
Johnny, answer the question, politician. If you had your druthers, would you have had another Republican be the nominee this time around, or would it?
I would have voted for any Republican most likely.
Did you have one that you liked? Like if Trump said, "I'm not running again," who?
We have a deep bench. I would have voted for DeSantis.
Okay.
Even though I wasn't a big fan of Nikki Haley. I was a fan of I don't know. I shouldn't bring it up. I don't want to get you going. But don't. I think Abbott's a great guy. I think that the Republicans have a deep bench. I don't think the Democrats have a deep bench. We have a very deep bench. If we had to call some pitchers in to take care of stuff, I think we have a lot of great, smart people.
Johnny, last question. If you believed like I do that Trump is a lawless threat to our democracy. Again, I do. I know you don't. But if you did believe that, you couldn't support him, right?
No.
Just like you couldn't support any candidate if you thought they were. Yeah. Hey, by the way,
but I don't see him as that. I don't see him as that as well. I'll tell you. And reason why I laid out why. Yeah, I laid out why Trump is not a lawless monster. He has a beautiful family. He had a beautiful life. He was in the spotlight his whole life. They couldn't come up with anything with 50 years of construction in Manhattan. Most of the guys that I know that work for him in Manhattan, I know a lot of guys that were managers of his golf courses that were working for him in construction. He would show up to their funerals if they died, their families. He's actually a great guy, a nice guy. Is he say stupid things? Sure. Is he a perfect candidate? No. But he did great things in his first term. Now that he's experienced, he'll do great things in his second term. And I can guarantee you, Joe, next year at this time, Trump will be your president. I think you know that.
I think if the election were held tomorrow right now, he wins. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with that. Hey, does Trump lie too much? Does he lie too much? Is that part of his
I don't
shtick?
think he lies.
You don't think he lies?
I don't. I think
Johnny, if I were with you right now, I would whack you upside the head.
I know you would. You
don't think Trump lies?
No, not more than the average. I don't think. Okay. What has he lied about? What? I mean, we could stand here all day and be very specific about what Biden lies about.
Hey,
come on, Joe. But what? Be specific. But let's be. Next time we talk, be specific. If we ever talk again, be specific about the lies. It's a very broad brush. Does he lie? Everyone lies.
I hear that, and we don't have time. I think he lies every time he opens his mouth. But regardless, you and I, that'll take time. Johnny, maybe I'm an idiot, but I think there's fucking value in having conversations like this. I really do.
I think you're crazy like a fox, my friend. I think you're crazy like a fox.
But promise me something. Don't, just because you and I like each other now, don't stop firing at me on Twitter. I mean it.
No, I'm going to be nicer. I'm going to be nicer.
Don't.
I have
Well,
to. You had this. Listen, first of all, thank you so much for having me on, Joe.
I enjoyed
You're
it.
really, whatever this new Joe is fabulous. It's wonderful. Even though I know you always said what you thought. However, it is a new and improved Joe, and I think it's a very good precedent you're setting. And look, you made me nice. I'm not a nice guy. You made me so nice today.
Hey, Johnny, no, you're so. I love that. Hey, this is the most serious thing I'll say. I was a very divisive political ass. I was. I worry the country's too divided. I helped get us there. I really did. And so now I'm just trying to do something about it, man. That's all.
I think that's very cool, and I think you're walking the walk and talking the talk, and I want to thank you very much for letting me speak today.
That's because
awesome.
I'm going to make you famous now. I'm going to make you famous now. Hey, Johnny, do me a favor.
I don't want to be famous. I've had many opportunities to be famous. I don't want to be famous.
When I come down to Florida, though, when I'm in your hood,
please send me an email, baby. I'll take it out on the boat. It's right back in the backyard.
Here's the deal. I'm going to take you up on that. I am strictly a tequila guy. You better have tequila for me.
I could show you my bar. I got the best. I'll ring the bell.
Hey, Johnny, I mean it, man. Thanks for doing this. Let's you and I stay in touch, brother.
Thank you. Keep up the good work, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow White Flag with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been White Flag with Joe Walsh.